The red marriage certificate lay on the coffee table, the paper still warm from the machine. I ran my fingertip over my own face in the photo. 2 months ago, on impulse, Serena and I had gone and gotten the license. Looking back now, most of that day was a blur. I only remembered a surge of momentum that pushed us through something everyone else thought was ridiculous. The whole summer break had been easy and grounded. No early morning classes. No piles of coursework. The days just drifted by slowly. Serena walked over with 2 iced drinks, beads of water running down the outside of the glasses. She slid one across to me. Strawberries are gone. Remember to go downstairs and buy some this evening. I took the glass and gulped it down, cold sweetness sliding through my throat. I slumped back on the sofa, my eyes landing on the 2 marriage certificates. But my mind was already dreading the nightmare waiting after the semester started. No rush. There's still a chunk of summer left. It's the start of classes that'll kill me, the physics homework for our major. Even upperclassmen complain about it. We'd been living together for 2 months, but we rarely dug into each other's past. A relationship started on impulse. Most of our time melted into daily routines. Grocery shopping, evening walks, each of us at our own desk, me scrolling through short videos, her flipping through thick professional materials. I'd secretly been relieved. Maybe even a rash choice didn't have to end badly. You're that scared of physics? Serena sat down next to me, stirring the ice in her cup, making a crisp clinking sound. Of course I am. I frowned. That old professor has a reputation for being strict. Homework checks are airtight. He docks participation points without mercy, every semester. A bunch of people fail his class. I'm still trying to figure out how to fake my way through those problem sets after school starts. At that point, I hadn't given any thought to where she'd end up. I only knew vaguely that she was waiting for a new job. I assumed it was some ordinary office position. It never crossed my mind to connect her to my future professors. We hadn't gotten around to laying all our cards on the table yet. Serena just gave a faint smile and didn't pick up my thread. Those peaceful days didn't last long. Near the end of summer, dozens of unread messages exploded in our class group chat. I lay in bed, tapped the notification, and a single line hit me straight in the face. The original physics instructor has submitted resignation. New instructor will take over the course starting the new semester. I shot upright in bed. The joy was impossible to contain. Finally, the mountain hanging over my head had vanished. My head filled with fantasies. Maybe the new teacher would be lenient. Maybe I could coast through the mountain of physics assignments. I shuffled out in my slippers. Serena was packing her luggage for the start of term. I leaned against the doorframe, unable to hide the excitement on my face. Did you see the group notice? That old physics teacher quit, finally. No more suffering. She paused mid-fold, looked up at me, and there was something layered and complex in her eyes that I couldn't read. You're that happy? Who wouldn't be? I said breezily. Who wants to stay up all night grinding through physics problems? Hope the new teacher goes easy on us. Let's hope it works out that way. Serena pulled her suitcase zipper shut softly but didn't say the truth out loud. I was too absorbed in my lucky break to catch any other meaning in her words. I reached over, put my arm around her shoulder, and pulled her closer. Let's enjoy the rest of the break. Leave the semester troubles for when the semester starts. She didn't push me away, just turned her head slightly. I couldn't see her full expression. I only knew something was being hidden, and I was completely oblivious. The easy 2-month summer was coming to an end. I thought the whirlwind marriage had given me a relaxing domestic life. I never expected what kind of shock was waiting for me in that first classroom of the new term. The bell rang, and I drifted with the crowd into the big lecture hall, textbook under my arm. I picked a seat in the back and settled in. My mind was still savoring that notice about the old teacher resigning. I was hoping the new instructor would be laid back and not torture us with homework. Classmates whispered around me, bits of chatter floating between seats. Heard the new instructor is a rising star poached from another school, really strong professionally. Just please don't let him be another homework maniac. I nearly failed physics last semester. I flipped open my book absent-mindedly. My mind drifted to Serena at home. We'd spent the whole holiday together comfortably, bickering, but also leaning into each other during quiet nights. About her new job, she'd only mentioned casually that she'd start soon. I never pressed further, just assumed it was normal office work. The front door of the classroom swung open. The noisy chatter died instantly. Every pair of eyes locked onto the podium. In that moment, The relaxed expression on my face froze solid. The person standing at the podium was Serena. She wore a neat formal blazer, and USB drive tucked against her chest. She walked steadily to center stage, set her materials on the desk, and swept her gaze across the room. The softness from home was gone. Her posture radiated the composed restraint of a lecturer. My brain went blank for a few seconds. I blinked repeatedly, unable to believe what I was seeing. The woman who'd spent countless summer nights under the same roof with me, who'd married me, was now my physics instructor. A few gasps rippled through the rows. Several guys murmured comments about her looks. I heard every word, and my palms started sweating. "All right, everyone. Hello?" Serena's voice came through the microphone, clear and sharp. "I'm Serena. I'll be in charge of university physics this semester." My neighbor nudged my elbow. "Hey, what's with you? This new teacher's insanely good-looking." I couldn't force a smile. My throat tightened, and I just grunted vaguely. Her gaze drifted slowly across the seating area and finally landed precisely on me. There wasn't a trace of marital warmth in that look, just the neutral, objective evaluation of a teacher regarding a student, as if all our private intimacy had never happened. "Before we start, let me make the rules clear." She tapped the projector screen. "Participation counts for 40% of your final grade. Late homework, 2 points off each time. Unexcused absence, 5 points off directly. Don't expect to use personal connections to get a pass. In my class, there are no favor points." A collective groaning spread across the seats. I sat there, temples throbbing. So that whole summer, when I cheerfully told her the old instructor had quit, she already knew everything. She said nothing, just watched me dream my unrealistic dreams. 45 minutes of class stretched out like an eternity. I couldn't lift my head to meet her gaze, but I was terrified of being called on. My mind scattered completely. Every so often her eyes came my way. I'd duck down and pretend to study my textbook, every second dragging. The bell rang. Serena closed her. "Complete all the post-lecture problems. Submit next class. No sloppy work." Students packed up and flowed out. I deliberately slowed down, waiting until most of them had cleared the room before I stood. She hadn't left the podium, clearly waiting for the room to empty. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Finally, it was just the two of us in that enormous lecture hall. The cold, distant shout from class loosened just a little. I walked up quickly, keeping my voice low. Shock, frustration, and a hint of resentment at being kept in the dark all piled up in my chest. "You knew you'd be teaching our class all along. Why didn't you say a single word this summer?" Serena looked up at me, calm, without flinching. "And if I'd told you? You spent the whole vacation figuring out how to dodge physics assignments. If I'd come clean ahead of time, would you have been able to take it well?" That shut me up on the spot. I had to admit, if I'd known the truth during break, I would have complained endlessly. "But what are we even doing now?" I frowned. "The person who holds my GPA in her hands is my wife. On campus, I'm your professor. At home, I'm your wife." Serena raised an eyebrow lightly. "Keep the two roles separate. Don't even think about using our personal relationship to get special treatment." Sunlight slanted through the window, cutting between us like an invisible line. The carefree summer was officially over. The messy reality of being both spouses and teacher-student had just begun. After class, I walked out of the building clutching my physics workbook, the edges already crumpled from my grip. That day in class, Serena had called my name in front of everyone, pointing out that several major problem steps were sloppy and rushed, docking me 3 participation points on the spot. Dozens of eyes on me. That humiliation stung worse than the lost points. When I got home, warm yellow light fell over the room. Serena had already changed out of her formal wear into a simple knit top. Dinner was laid out on the table, 2 dishes and a soup. Just the flavors we'd gotten used to. At the sound of the door, she looked up while setting the chopsticks. "You got the workbook back?" I slammed it down on the edge of the table, paper hitting wood with a dull thud. "Did you have to embarrass me in public? Couldn't you have just pulled me aside privately?" I pulled out a chair and sat down. A knot of anger lodged in my chest. It wasn't the point deduction I couldn't handle. It was the fact that we slept under the same roof at night. And in school, she left me zero dignity. Serena ladled a bowl of soup and slid it to me, her expression unwavering. "If I let you slide privately, how would the rest of the class see it? Everyone knows our relationship. If I play favorites, I'm being unfair to every single student in that room. At home, we're partners. At school, you're just my student." The rules are clear. If the work is substandard, points get taken off. That's how it should be. I stared at the steaming soup, my anger slowly simmering down, but the unease remained. But once you're home, you don't have to keep up the teacher act every second. I know how to keep things separate. She met my eyes, softening a little but not giving ground. I don't want you getting used to finding shortcuts. Don't rely on our relationship to dodge the work you're supposed to handle. Dinner wasn't warm. We traded a few words. No explosive fight, just a steady pull and push between us. After eating, I gathered the dishes and walked into the kitchen. The faucet ran loudly, masking whatever was happening in the living room. Then my phone started buzzing with messages, one after another. It was Winnie, a girl from the same major who'd had a thing for me before. She'd been bitter ever since she found out I'd gotten married over summer. Now that she knew Serena was my instructor, her mind went straight to stirring things up. Messages popped up in quick succession, each line laced with provocation. Calling you out in front of everyone today, even if she's your partner. She shouldn't embarrass you like that. If it were me, I'd never treat someone I cared about that way. I dried my hands, looked down at the screen, and frowned hard. Then another message came through, an invitation to hang out over the weekend. My finger hovered over the screen. I didn't reply, just locked the phone and tossed it onto the sofa. Winnie? Serena walked over, catching the flash of the screen. Yeah, asking me out this weekend. I didn't hide it. Are you going? Her tone went colder. Of course not. I leaned back into the sofa and let out a long breath. I know where to draw the line. But this isn't over. She won't let it drop easily. The days that followed settled into a rhythm of dual identities. In class, she was ironclad, attendance, assignment standards, all even-handed. If I slacked off, points came off, no exceptions. At home, she shed the teacher role. We joke about who had to wash the dishes, crowd together on the sofa for movies late at night, and after arguments, naturally gravitate back toward each other. Strict rules and everyday warmth, they wound around both of us. My prediction was right. Winnie's harassment came fast. She started spreading gossip among classmates, telling everyone I was using my marriage to get grade favors, that the public criticisms and point deductions were just a show the two of us put on. Rumors spread quietly at first, then wider. Many students who didn't know the real story started whispering. At first I tried to endure it. I didn't want to cause a huge scene and hurt Serena's reputation as a teacher. But my forbearance only made things worse. During one group project, after I'd stayed up 2 nights drawing up the initial design, she secretly changed the byline and submitted it as her own work. When the group project results were posted, I stared at my creation, with Winnie's name on it. The anger I'd been suppressing broke through completely. This time, I wasn't going to stay quiet. I saved all my original project files, draft records, every piece with a clear time stamp. Instead of making a loud, dramatic scene, I took the full set of evidence to the academic advisor and laid out the facts of the plagiarism clearly. The evidence was solid, no room for denial. The school launched an investigation quickly, and the results were announced publicly. Winnie's 2 offenses, stealing a classmate's work and spreading false rumors, were both verified. The college issued a formal notice of criticism, canceled her grade for that course entirely, and put it on her permanent record. Walking out of the advisor's office, the autumn wind hit my face. A weight I'd carried for so long finally lifted. I didn't taunt her or rub it in. I just took back what was rightfully mine. After going through all that, I'd shed a lot of the laziness I'd carried since summer. But I knew this was just the beginning of trouble, and there were still more hidden secrets waiting to be uncovered. After the formal reprimand was issued, Winnie's standing in the department took a nosedive. But her resentment didn't fade. Instead, she blamed all her misfortunes on me and Serena. One day between classes, just as I walked out of the lab building, she blocked me in the hallway. The corridor was crowded with students heading to and from classes. She deliberately raised her voice, making a show of being the wrong party. Kason, are you happy now? Just because I had feelings for you. You used your wife, your teacher, to crush me. Passing students slowed down. Eyes turned toward me. I stood still, surprisingly calm inside. After the last round of evidence submission, her public pity act no longer rattled me. The school's decision is posted on the bulletin board. The stolen drafts, original project files, group chat logs, all archived. None of that was fabricated by me. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly. You took someone else's work and spread rumors. The one who did wrong shouldn't get to play the victim. In the end, it's still Serena wielding her grating power to back you up. She gritted her teeth, refusing to concede. From evidence submission to the school's review, Serena recused herself completely. She had no part in the process. You can check the case file. I held her gaze. You won't admit your own greed, so you keep slinging mud. It's pointless. Hearing this, the surrounding students exchanged glances. Many remembered the solid evidence posted publicly, and their attitudes toward Winnie shifted visibly, seeing public opinion turn against her instead of the way she'd hoped. Her face went pale, then red. She knew continuing would only humiliate her more. She gave me a vicious glare, pushed through the crowd, and walked off quickly. That public confrontation, I hadn't used a single ugly word. I just used facts to dismantle the sympathy she tried to drum up. I thought that was the end of it, but 2 days later, a post appeared on the campus anonymous forum. The poster hid their identity, twisted the whole story, and claimed I was using my marriage to a professor to retaliate against a female classmate who'd liked me. The post spread fast. Likes and comments surged within hours. Many readers who didn't know the full context joined in with criticism. Attacks from behind a screen were more insidious than face-to-face arguments. I skimmed the post quickly but chose not to argue in the comments section. That would only play into her hands and blow things up further. Instead, I took screenshots of everything for evidence, packaged the school's formal notice, my original creative files, and group chat logs, and submitted the whole package to the school's network management center. I requested a trace on the anonymous account. The school's cybersecurity followed the data trail and found the account registered to Winnie. With the evidence laid out, she couldn't deny it. The school added another disciplinary action, a formal demerit on her record, and disqualification from all awards, competitions, and project applications for the entire year. 2 failed schemes in a row. Finally, Winnie stopped daring to openly provoke me. She must have realized by then, my responses were never driven by emotional venting. Every step I took relied on rules and evidence. I didn't leave any opening for her to gain sympathy. I didn't deliberately trample her dignity. I just made her bear the consequences of her own actions. With the external storm temporarily settled, life returned to a fragile calm. Only then did I have the headspace to look back at my relationship with Serena. That night, only a small floor lamp was on at home. The room was quiet. I sat on the sofa, fragments of the past replaying in my mind. That evening we met. The impulsive marriage. The 2 carefree summer months. Piece by piece, the more I thought about it, the more something felt off. Serena. I turned to look at her beside me. Was our meeting really just a coincidence? A lot of details, the more I think back, the more they don't add up. Her body went still. Her fingers on her lap tightened, held too long. The secret she'd kept buried for so long could no longer be hidden. Those overlooked clues were finally laid bare. The floor lamp cast soft light, but it couldn't dissolve the tension that suddenly filled the room. After my question hung in the air, the living room stayed silent for several seconds. Serena looked away, her fingers unconsciously rubbing the sofa fabric. The old secrets she tried so hard to bury could no longer stay hidden. It wasn't an accident. Her voice was low, no hedging, just straight admission. That night we met, from start to finish, I planned it all. My back went rigid. I'd suspected it, but hearing her say it out loud made my chest sink heavily. The bar's dim lights, the rush of that night, the hasty marriage license, the 2 months of carefree summer. The very beginning of our story had been wrapped in a lie. Why? I kept my voice steady, no yelling, but the warmth in my chest was fading fast. My family background is nothing like what you know. Serena looked up at me, guilt and helplessness tangled in her eyes. My parents hold high status. They arranged a business marriage for me a long time ago. I didn't want to hand my life over to that. I needed to find someone to marry and break their plan. That night, I was there on purpose. I'd screened your background before I approached you. I froze. I'd always thought she was just an ordinary person looking for a job. I never imagined there was such a heavy burden behind her. So from the beginning, I was just a tool for you to rebel against your family. At the very start, yes, she didn't sugarcoat her original motives, didn't avoid the ugly truth. I picked you because you were steady, not greedy about family status. I only needed a paper marriage to break free. I never expected that after living together day after day, so many things would veer off plan. Before we could say another word, the lock turned. Through the door walked a middle-aged couple with restrained, imposing presence, Serena's parents. They hadn't called ahead, they just showed up. Their eyes landed on me. Appraising, unmistakably judgmental. "Serena, come home with us," the man spoke, his tone hard. "This marriage is just a tantrum you threw. We'll handle the divorce procedures." Serena stepped forward immediately, putting herself between them and me. "I'm not going back. And I'm not getting divorced. Don't be stubborn." The woman frowned. "He's just a regular college student. The gap between your backgrounds is plain to see. This relationship was never meant to be." Hearing that stung. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. But I didn't panic or shrink back. After all the battles with Winnie, I'd learned to stay steady. I stood up, my tone measured. "Mr. and Mrs., I won't deny, this marriage started with deception. But the days we've spent together are real. They're not a joke you can just tear up." Serena's father let out a cold laugh. "Real? Do you have any idea what kind of pressure she's facing? Just liking her won't be enough to carry that weight, can you?" The conversation went nowhere. They delivered their final ultimatum and left. When the door closed behind them, the atmosphere in the room hit rock bottom. Outside pressure. On top of the lie at the start, 2 cracks running right through the middle of us. Before we could even digest the conflict in front of us, Winnie, already on disciplinary probation, found another way to make trouble. Unable to accept total defeat, she dug into Serena's family background and seized on the teacher-student marriage angle. She submitted an anonymous complaint to the school's disciplinary committee email, packed with misleading chat screenshots, accusing Serena of ethical misconduct for having a marital relationship with an enrolled student. If the complaint was accepted, Serena's teaching career would be destroyed on the spot. I heard about it while I was organizing my entries for the design competition. My hand tightened around the drafting pen, a chill spread through me. Before, she'd only gone after me. Now she wanted to destroy Serena's career out of spite. "Don't respond yourself." I stopped Serena before she could go explain things to the disciplinary committee. "You're a faculty member. Every word you say will be magnified. Leave this to me." Over the next 2 days, I gathered every thread of evidence. I compiled Winnie's forum slander screenshots, the school's prior disciplinary records, and got statements from several classmates confirming that Winnie had repeatedly expressed intent to retaliate. I laid out the timeline clearly. We'd registered our marriage over the summer, and Serena only joined the school after the semester began. The order was clear. She hadn't used her position to pursue a student. Once the full package was ready, I walked into the disciplinary office in person and handed over the complete file. I laid out the whole situation and explicitly pointed out that the anonymous complaint was retaliation from Winnie. The review team verified each piece of evidence. The complaint was confirmed to be a malicious false accusation for filing a false report. In addition to her existing demerit, the school issued a probationary suspension. That was the second strictest penalty, just short of expulsion. It meant if she made even one more mistake, she'd be out for good. Another crisis averted. But the wounds from deceit didn't vanish with the storm. That night, looking out at the dark sky, an old memory from high school slowly surfaced. The desk lamp cast dim light across the room. Winnie was on probation, no longer openly provoking us. But the secrets already uncovered kept eating away at the trust between me and Serena. The lie at the start, the pressure from her parents, they stacked up. Even after the external crises passed, the knot inside hadn't untied. I opened my old phone's photo album and scrolled to a few blurry high school pictures. The screen's faint glow lit my face. The photo was from the school arts festival years ago. In it, Serena stood at the side of the stage, quietly looking toward it. Only at this moment did all the scattered fragments finally fit together. "I've seen you before, back in high school." My voice was flat, not emotional, just stating a buried fact. "I had a crush on you back then. We weren't in the same grade, and I never got the courage to talk to you. Later you graduated and I lost track of you entirely." Serena's body jolted. She'd never known. I never knew about any of that. It was just an unspoken crush. I traced the image on the screen with my fingertip, emotions swirling. "When we ran into each other again this summer, I recognized you right away. I thought it was fate, late but finally here. But it turned out you planned the whole meeting." The air in the room went thick. That teenage tenderness from years ago was now clouded with a layer of deceit. "I truly had no idea." Serena's voice came out rough. "When I screened for someone reliable and from an ordinary background, just a tool to defy my family, I never connected the dots to the kid in high school who noticed me. If I'd known, I never would have approached you that way. I wanted to escape the arranged marriage, but I shouldn't have dragged someone who had feelings for me into my scheme. Before we could fully unpack those old misunderstandings, the darkness gathered again. After repeated humiliations, Winnie's future was hanging by a thread, her record stained with multiple black marks. She blamed every misfortune on me and Serena, daring no longer to use official channels at school. She turned to covert retaliation. Friday evening, I stepped out of the design lab alone after a tutoring session. It was completely dark outside. Streetlights were sparse along this path, and pedestrian traffic was light. My head was still running through the structural model for the competition. I didn't notice the footsteps tailing me. I turned a corner, and two unfamiliar figures suddenly jumped out, blocking my way. Hired thugs. Winnie had paid them. Kaysen, the lead man, stood in front of me, speaking rough. Better keep your head down. Don't push people to the edge. I went on alert instantly. Instinctively I stepped back, my back hitting the wall. I didn't rush into a fight. My fingers quietly slipped into my pocket and found my phone. I started recording while keeping them talking. Did Winnie send you? Don't ask what you shouldn't. The other guy stepped forward, reaching for my arm. I dodged sideways and yelled for help. I got the whole threatening exchange recorded. The path wasn't far from the main road, and my shouts soon brought campus security running. When the guards saw them, the two men didn't stick around. They turned and disappeared into the darkness. By the time security got to me, I was alone with a scraped arm, nothing serious. But the recording was intact, and surveillance cameras had caught the whole process. Serena rushed over when security called her. When she saw the scrape on my arm, her face went pale. She held back from touching me because security was still standing there. Are you hurt anywhere else? Just some scratches. I handed the audio file to the guards. They got away, but we've got the evidence. The person behind it is most likely Winnie. The situation had escalated to physical intimidation, no longer just a campus plagiarism or defamation dispute. Security immediately reported it to administration and filed a police report. Officers pulled surveillance footage, traced the two men's movements, and quickly found a money transfer trail leading directly to Winnie. With solid evidence in hand, hiring outsiders to threaten someone crossed into criminal territory. Combined with her earlier plagiarism and false accusations, the school issued an immediate expulsion. Police also issued an administrative penalty, a permanent record of illegal conduct. At this point, she'd crossed the line one too many times and destroyed her own college future. From beginning to end, I never retaliated out of spite. Every response relied on evidence, school regulations, and the law, to protect myself and to protect Serena. Stepping out of the security office, the night wind was cool. The long conflict with Winnie had finally reached its end. But with the crisis gone, the problem in our relationship remained. A marriage built on calculation, a mis-teenage crush from years ago. Her family still hadn't relented. The outside enemy had fallen, but for us, the real test was only half over. With Winnie expelled and a police record filed, that long stretch of malice finally came to a close. The external turmoil faded. I didn't wallow in emotional confusion. I threw most of my energy into the National College Design Competition. The event carried a lot of weight, and the prize money was something I kept in mind as a bargaining chip. After the lies, the pressure from her parents, the attack at night, I was no longer the same lazy student from summer. I knew clearly that to hold on to this relationship, feelings alone wouldn't be enough. I needed to have my own standing. In class, Serena maintained her professional boundaries without exception. If my homework was sloppy, points came off. If I did well, she gave objective recognition, short comments at the end of my assignments. Never personal, just evaluations of the student's work. At home, there was still an invisible barrier between us. The calculated meeting, the unspoken crush from teenage years, those things didn't disappear. We still cooked, cleaned, talked normally, but we never returned to that easy, carefree state of joking and playful bickering. Serena's parents didn't let up either. Messages kept coming, urging her to end the marriage, and occasionally asking about me. I knew all about it, but I didn't want to win their approval through arguments. I wanted to speak with results. The competition preparation was grueling and lonely. I spent long hours in the lab, often not coming home until late at night. Drafts were redrawn over and over, model parameters adjusted endlessly, dark circles permanent under my eyes. Serena never interfered with my work, but every late night, a warm meal was left on the table, quietly waiting for my return. Don't push too hard. Don't burn yourself out. One night I came home and she pushed the plate toward me. I know what I'm doing. I picked up my chopsticks, exhausted but with resolute eyes. This competition means more to me than just an award. She caught the weight hidden in my words, gave a slight nod, and didn't press. The rounds went on, preliminaries, semifinals, wave after wave of contestants eliminated. My work kept advancing, all the way to the live finals. The finals were packed with heavyweights, industry veterans in the audience, finalists presenting their work one by one. Under the spotlight, I steadied myself, laid out the entire concept and implementation details cleanly, no melodrama, no grandstanding, just the design itself. After all the presentations came the long scoring process. The minutes of waiting in the back room dragged by painfully. Fragments flashed through my mind: the hurried marriage certificate, the shock at the lecture hall podium, Winnie's relentless scheming, the contemptuous warnings from Serena's parents. Finally, the host read the winners. Gold award Kaysen. Applause thundered through the hall. The medal was placed in my hand, along with a significant cash prize. Gripping that heavy metal, a huge weight finally lifted from my chest. I'd earned my place through my own work, no longer just that insignificant student her family had dismissed. Walking off stage, I took out my phone and sent Serena a message. No flowery words, just 4 plain ones. I won gold. A reply came quickly. I'm in the audience. I spun around, scanning through the crowd, and spotted her in the back row. She hadn't come forward, just stood there quietly, looking at me, her eyes unable to hide her emotion. After the event ended and the crowd thinned out, we walked out side by side. The dusk was settling, traffic moving steadily on the street. Once the prize money comes through, there's something I want to do. I held the cold medal in my hand. She paused, looked at me. What? We got our license on impulse. A rush thing that started with lies. No ceremony, no serious vows. My tone was firm. The carelessness of youth gone. That was our starting point. But it shouldn't be all we are. I want to use the money I earn from this competition, and properly. Seriously, propose to you again. Not to fight your family. Not out of a sudden urge. This is my choice. Freely given. Serena stared at me, all the lies, misunderstandings, fights, and tug-of-war stirring again. She'd started out wanting only to escape her family cage, but somewhere along the way, she'd actually fallen hard. You know my parents still won't accept you. Her voice trembled slightly. I know, I answered openly. Marriage is between the two of us. I won't force them to come around overnight. But I'll prove that I can carry the life ahead of us. A lie pushed us together in the beginning. From here on, the choice belongs to us. The evening breeze swept around us. The distance that had built up for so long slowly began to dissolve in that real, grounded sincerity. The past wounds couldn't be erased completely, but we were both willing to move forward together. The prize money hit my account on time. I didn't blow it. I carefully picked out a simple plain band. Every cent came from what I'd earned through my own hard work. When Serena's parents heard I'd won the National Design Gold, their stance softened just a little, but they still held on to their class biases, quietly pressuring Serena to reconsider. The family pressure was still there, but Serena had stopped wavering. The guilt after the confession, the solidarity through crisis after crisis. Watching me push forward through it all, she knew clearly that the calculated beginning had long since been rewritten by the real days we'd shared. I didn't pick some fancy restaurant to propose. I chose the big lawn in the middle of campus. This was the place that had seen my embarrassment, seen the rumors and conflicts, and seen me grow step by step. The autumn afternoon light was soft, no big crowd, just a few students walking by. I gripped the ring box in my palm. Scenes ran through my heart. The rushed marriage license, the shock at the podium, Winnie's endless plots, Serena's agony caught between family and love. Serena. I stood on the grass, my eyes fixed steady on her face. No flowery, empty vows, just plain, heavy words. Our marriage started with a lie. You wanted to escape the arranged marriage your family set up, and you picked me. But you didn't know, back in high school, I'd already noticed you from afar. After all those twists, we still met in this ugly way. Through all of this, we fought. We kept distance. We were attacked by rumors, rejected by your family, even threatened with violence. I resented your secrecy, but I also saw your struggle. You were trapped by your family. Yet you never used me carelessly. I opened the ring box. The plain band lay quietly inside. The license was a whim. This proposal today isn't about your family status. It's not a tool against anyone, not a teenage impulse. It's me, Kaysen, choosing to spend the rest of my life with you. We can't erase the mistakes we made, but we can own the future. Will you marry me, for real? Serena looked at me, her eyes reddening. The guilt and unease buried deep inside slowly began to break apart. Before, all she'd wanted was to escape her fate. She never expected to receive genuine feelings in return. Yes. 3 short words. I took out the ring and slid it firmly onto her finger. No loud cheering, just a simple moment, but it was the most solemn answer we could give each other. After the proposal, we didn't avoid her family. I asked for a face-to-face meeting, laid out my award certificates, my career plans, everything. I didn't expect them to fully embrace me overnight. I just asked for basic respect. After several honest conversations, her parents still had reservations, but they finally stopped forcing us to divorce. Months later, we held the wedding, right on campus, the place where all our mess had unfolded. A simple, modest ceremony. Only close classmates and a few teachers attended, no lavish banquet. Just the ordinary warmth of real life. On the wedding day, Serena shed the composed, strict teacher persona. She wore a wedding dress, her expression soft, and standing across from her, I was no longer that playful, lazy student from summer. Through all the storms, my shoulders had learned to carry weight, my gaze was steady. During a break in the ceremony, a few close classmates teased us, laughing about the absurd past. Who would have guessed? A rushed marriage turns into your professor? After all those rumors and scandals, you two still made it. Those painful memories hadn't disappeared. The plagiarism accusations, the identity clashes, the scars from a lie, they were all still there, but they were no longer weapons aimed at each other. They'd become memories unique to us. After the ceremony, the guests slowly left. Dusk fell over campus. I held Serena's hand, walking slowly along the tree-lined path. Looking back, our beginning was anything but decent. I said. It really wasn't. She turned her head, fingers locked tightly with mine. But a decent start doesn't guarantee you'll make it to the end. We stumbled, fought off outsiders, questioned each other, and in the end, we still choose to stand together. That's enough. A thoughtless, rushed marriage had come to a close. In its place was a committed partnership built after careful thought. We'd survived the cracks left by lies, fended off relentless outside attacks, crossed the divide of family status, and turned an escape plan meant to dodge fate into a marriage that truly belonged to us.